Teachers at Reddit, what's the difference between 1997, 2007, and 2017 students? 97 quit passing notes. 07 quit texting. 17 are you seriously watching Netflix right now? Senior pranks in 1997 were outlandish and acceptable. Senior pranks in 2007 were less common and more basic. In 2017 senior pranks are illegal. 1997 you won't always have a calculator with you everywhere you go in life. 2017 before beginning the test, every student must disable the multifunction calculator that goes with them everywhere in life. As a college instructor, teaching all of them right now, taking those years as 1 year removed from HS graduation. 97, I'm taking school seriously to better myself and my career. 07, I should have not taken all those gap years. C's get degrees. 17, oh it if I don't get at least a master's I'm going to be made redundant by a robot. My dad taught middle school from 1968 to 2004. When he retired I asked him what changes he saw in students from the beginning of his teaching career to the end. He answered, the kids never changed. A teenager is always a teenager. The parents however, changed dramatically. They used to respect teachers and side with us in disciplinary matters. But now they think their kids are perfect and we are wrong. Glad I'm getting out before it gets worse. I teach English at a rural high school. The biggest issue for 2017 students is that they have almost zero self-confidence. I don't know if this is a product of culture, or if this is just a fluke with my students. However, they are unwilling to try anything challenging or new without an extreme amount of one-on-one guidance. And that's very difficult to give in a classroom of 30. Edit. Dang this blew up. Nice to hear I'm not alone in noticing this. Not exactly what you're looking for, but I have a story to share. My father graduated high school in the mid-60s. After graduation, he and a few friends rented a sailboat and went from the Carolina coast to the Bahamas. Young, free, healthy men spent a few days sailing, a week on the beach, and sailed home. When I graduated, shortly after 9/11, I tried to repeat this trip with a few of my friends. No one would rent their sailboat to a couple 18-year-olds. I guess societal trust has changed. We finally find one through a friend of my father and set sail for the Bahamas. 2 days in and we see a helicopter, then a Coast Guard vessel. Then we're boarded by us government guys with guns who say alright, boys, what is it today? You moving guns or drugs? After searching the boat for hours, and it's a tiny boat, and finding nothing, we are let go, but instructed to turn around and sail home under threat of arrest if we continued south. Yeah. So I guess things have changed a bit. No phones. Small phones. Big phones. Different consoles used to play Pokemon. The difference between 2017 students and 2007 students is 10. The difference between 2007 students and 1997 students is also 10. 1997. Colorful hair and piercings. 2007. No colorful hair. Lots of tattoos. 2017. Colorful hair and tattoos. I teach in college. Oh, the other difference was 1997. No one talked about being gay. 2007. Students came out to me privately in my office. 2017. Students talk about being gay in class. Going to sound like an old man here, but when I was in high school in 1997 we had a system where various teachers' aides would photocopy all of the notes, answer keys, homeworks, etc. and put into an unused locker. My whole class, even the future valedictorian, used that locker. I'd imagine cheating efforts have advanced since then. I was a student in 1997 at the school I now teach at, so I can answer this one. 2017 students are infinitely more polite, harder working and more intelligent than my cohort ever was. They're much less likely to smoke. They don't drink cider on the playing field at lunchtime. And they don't sell each other itty weed in industrial quantities. I gather they sell each other excellent quality weed in very small quantities instead. It's a big secondary school on a fairly deprived estate, so these aren't exactly kids who go to etiquette classes after school. But I literally can't open a door by myself because some 16-year-old with mutton chops will spring out to open it for me. If I'd done that when I was at school, it would have been instant social death. Edit. Whoa. 90% of my all-time karma has come from this one comment. Also, RIP my inbox. Edit 2. Politer is not a word. Shame on me. I wasn't old enough to teach yet in 1997. I was 4 years out of high school, young and naive. In 2007, students were semi-glued to their phones, but the technology to integrate them into the classroom, Twitter accounts, Facebook, Snapchat, etc. wasn't there. Not was it encouraged in any way through administration. There was still a phones away rule. For the most part, the students in my tech courses at the college I was working were older, either getting recertified, new degrees, or simply enhancing their current skills with newer ones. I would put most of the ages in the late 20s to mid 30s. In 2017, I have young students right out of high school. It's rare now that I have an older student. Most of these students come in with at least basic knowledge of technology, hardware, software, but more often than not they are even more advanced than that. It's interesting how the tech group got so much younger and more skilled, while the older group, I don't know, do they not move forward anymore? Are they switching to different careers? It's no longer frowned upon to be ducking your 1997 students. Devices and helicopter parenting. Which doesn't mean parents who are intensely concerned about their children's futures, but parents who never leave their damn kids alone. Am I the only one who's currently a student and not relating to the descriptions the teachers are giving about today's students? Like my classmates are incredibly rude and lazy, not diligent and polite. 97. You can have the pager back at the end of the day. 07. You can have the cell phone back at the end of the day. 17. Okay. Everyone go to Google Classrooms on your tablets and pull up today's links. The whole be cool stay in school thing seemed to work. I'm not a teacher, but I used to volunteer as a middle school basketball coach. Kids take school more seriously than when I was a kid, which is a great thing. 97. Sarcastic, grungy, smoking more cigarettes, more cliquey and edgy. 07. Petty, attention starved, overwhelmed, but much nicer. 17. Under so many layers of irony and memes they don't even know who they are anymore or care. There's no point in being creative or developing a personality. Anything you could think of has already been done. 97. Little regard to terrorism. 07. Remember 9/11? 17. Can you explain what 9/11 was? I wasn't born yet. As a history teacher, it's been interesting and difficult trying to instill the gravity of events to people who weren't even born at the time. I imagine it was a similarly strange scenario for teachers who taught during the attack on Pearl Harbor or the assassination of JFK. Strange to have major life events turn to just another historical story for kids within a few short years. At the same time, it gives me motivation to keep teaching with the same passion as if the events just happened, so kids continue to understand its importance. Everybody is going tech, so I'll go with cultural. All teens rebel. They all think they have it right and the grown-ups have it wrong, but they show it differently. In 97 the prevailing word was anger. I hate the way things are. Kids were harsher, meaner. Being nasty was the way to show you're cool. I saw a lot of kids get their kicks out of breaking the Santa illusion for grade schoolers, for example. 17. Kids are much nicer to each other. Think of the music of the time. Smashing Pumpkins, and the like. In spite all my rage, I am still just a rat in a cage. In 07 the word was mope. Kids were softening up, being nicer to each other, but also getting more into the sadness is beautiful kind of thing. They weren't angry at the adults so much as they just wanted them to go away and hide into their hoodies. Leave me alone to my solitude. Consider the way emo was huge at this time. In 17 kids are much nicer to each other. They're kinder to young kids and friendlier in general. But there's this strange undercurrent of competition to be the most good person, which leads to the weird yes mayonnaise is a gender if that's how you identify kind of thing. In 2017 kids want to explain to the grown-ups how they're all bigots. They also handle failure far worse than previous generations. 17 kids try harder and genuinely want to succeed in ways that the 97 kids didn't. In 1997 you were cool if you avoided working hard and didn't care if you failed. But 97 kids also recovered from adversity faster. They didn't bruise as easily. They were harder, meaner kids, but also didn't quit as easily and thrived on constructive criticism. Now there's bits of each of these personality types in every year. There were nice kids who were also soft in 97. And there are mopey emo types now. But the prevailing culture shifted these ways. Graduated high school and went to college in the late 90s. Started teaching at the college level in mid 2000s. Still teaching at the college level. I would say that in general I didn't notice much of a difference between when I went to college and when I started teaching at college. I went to a state school. I now teach at a different state school. Students generally got done what they needed to get done, partied, enjoyed chatting and having fun in the classroom, and more or less seemed to live their lives fairly similarly to how I did. The last few years have been different, and I'm not entirely sure why, and it is specifically the last few years when the shift occurred. I've spoken with numerous other teachers about this, and everyone I talked to about it that's been teaching for a while seems to have noticed. As people have noted, students now are more diligent. They work really hard. They're polite, but are woefully unprepared for adulthood. Yet, they're almost to the last all fairly corporate and professionalized. They act like they're all intending to become middle managers. The idea of college education as anything other than incredibly expensive job training is lost on them, likely due to that incredibly expensive part. They diligently do busy work, but when asked to do creative, novel, or independent work analysis, it's like that screen Chrome browser gives you when it crashes. They are also less anti-authoritarian than I've seen in the past. This is helpful for classroom management, but I worry about a society of people who unquestioningly do busy work, can't think independently, and blindly listen to authority. If you think it's just me, all teachers teaching incoming freshmen last year had to attend a lecture series given by a couple of the deans regarding the demographics and habits of our incoming freshmen. Basically, the takeaway was this: we should not expect students to be able to pay attention in class. We should not expect students to be able to socialize easily with their classmates. We should not expect students to be able to understand and or figure out a syllabus. We should not expect students to be able to manage their own personal affairs outside of the classroom. We should not expect them to be able to self-task in terms of research self-education. We should expect more phone calls from parents, more parental intervention, and a heavy reliance on parents by our students who, we were informed, are likely texting their parents during and or immediately after classes if they get grades they feel are unfair. Most of the "we should not expect students to be able to do X" comes from research that the dean cited. I don't remember if it was from our university or published in a journal or what. That shows that most of those issues stem from that extreme reliance on other people, typically parents for younger students, through all of their K-12 education, aka their parents did so much for them down to explaining class expectations and how a course works, syllabuses, that now that they're expected to do it on their own, they can't because they've never really done it. I think the deans maybe were a bit hyperbolic, but most of that does seem to be true for a lot of students now. And I will say this, until 3 years ago, I had never received a phone call or email from a parent regarding their children's grades and or academic performance. Since 2014, I have received numerous phone calls and probably a half dozen emails. You want to see a helicopter parent lose their it? Explain to them that their children are legally adults and due to FERPA guidelines, I can't discuss their grades or academic performance with them. So, I don't fault my students necessarily, and I don't know if this is a long-term trend or not, but I definitely have noticed a pretty significant change in my students over the last few years. I also get the sense that they may know that there is something different about them versus previous generations of college students, as I find them expressing concern about themselves and their classmates. They say things about people struggling to look each other in the eye, or make small talk, etc. So, anyway, TLDR, Students are politer and more diligent but have become worse at adulting and being independent. Edit. A word. Also, I'm on the East Coast, the USA, for those wondering. Edit 2. Put the E in FERPA because I noticed people were copying my error.